Hello and welcome to Bookworms. It's the show where we read graphic novels and then talk about those graphic novels. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Joe.
How are you, Joe?
I was doing good until that intro, Alex, to be honest. And then I just like, ugh.
Oh, we gotta spice things up, keep them guessing.
Or we could just have a decent intro and
Remember when we were talking about having theme songs and stuff?
yeah, unfortunately that's expensive and costs money. And since this is a free show and I already spend a fair amount of money on hosting it, and then we both spend a fair amount of money on buying the books, so you have gone a little bit cheaper with your audio books and your library books, so go you.
Yeah. Well, poor me. I save money on books by going to a place where they have them for
I'm
free.
not blaming you, Alex. I'm just saying it's like this is an expensive hobby. Putting out these podcasts and buying music to be able to put onto an intro. It gets expensive.
Yeah, this book was $35.
It is a hefty book. So what book is it, Alex?
It's if you didn't listen to last month's episode, go listen to it now.
Shame
and
on
you'll
you.
know what it is. Yes.
Shame.
Shame. The book this week, or I guess this month, is From Hell by Alan Moore with illustrations by Eddie Campbell.
That is true.
And this is I wouldn't call it true crime. It's definitely historical fiction, I would say. They take some liberties.
It's historical fiction. And did you read any of the appendix there or look into any of the information about Jack the Ripper, like just as a refresher kind of thing?
Yeah, I didn't read the appendix. I did some independent research on Jack the Ripper, though. And a lot of this historical fiction is mostly based on like some theories from the 70s over who Jack the Ripper was, but that's been since wildly disproved because of the person named as the killer in the book.
Yeah. It was basically some guy came up with a crackpot theory that looks good on paper, but when you actually start investigating timelines and just the guy's age, you realize probably what didn't happen.
Yeah, because like the theory is that Jack the Ripper was a doctor because he mutilated the corpses, he removed their internal organs, he was very surgical with his cuts so that like blood splatter wouldn't get on him and leave a blood trail. So they assumed he was a doctor at various points. So the Queen's Royal Surgeon becomes Jack the Ripper and From Hell. And what
it makes a fun story, but other than the way the girls were murdered, there's really not a lot of factual information here.
Yeah, he based it on like the characters on. Also, was Aberline the main detective? Like he's fairly accurately portrayed as far as what information there is on him. But yeah, the guy playing the Jack the Ripper character, William Gull, is. No, he was like 71 and in bad health when the killings happened, so it really couldn't have been him because he's chasing down prostitutes and cutting them up at 1 a.m.
Yeah, so let's we're kind of jumping
ahead
of ourselves here.
Spoilers: Gull is the killer.
Well, it's not really a spoiler, being that they give it away in the opening pages.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically there's no mystery here. It's more just. I don't even know, like a psychological thriller.
Yeah, it's like thrillers. You have to know who the bad guy is already, and it's like a game of cat and mouse. Like the killer is trying to elude the cops, and usually there's some sort of fatal flaw that takes him down at the end. And this book plays very handily with that storytelling style, so it does make for a good thriller.
Yeah. So do you want to read the cover, or you want to just jump into it?
Let's read the cover. Now, let's see.
I know it's a graphic novel, so it's going to be kind of hard to quote. I mean, there are areas we probably could quote because they're just long, I don't know, epitaphs or rants or mad ravings that we could probably quote for quite a while.
Yeah, Gull likes to get into expository prose. He also likes to make fun of his driver a lot, which is really funny. That's like the weird dark humor that comes with the book is, I don't know. Anyway, let me read this. We'll get into that. From Hell is the story of Jack the Ripper, perhaps the most infamous man in the annals of murder. detailing the events leading up to the Whitechapel killings and the cover-up that followed. From Hell is a meditation on the mind of a madman whose savagery and violence gave birth to the 20th century. From Hell has garnered widespread attention from critics and scholars, and has been adapted into a major motion picture from 20th Century Fox starring Johnny Depp and Heather Graham. Widely regarded as the most significant graphic novel ever published, From Hell combines meticulous research with educated speculation, resulting in a masterpiece of historical fiction, both compelling and terrifying.
Yeah, that's a lot of that's probably not true. I mean, maybe it was most compelling graphic novel for its time, but when was this published? Do you know, Alex?
I believe it was serialized over the course of 10 years from like 89 to 99, and then the Tomb that we have before us came out in the early 2000s.
I feel like there's, obviously Alan Moore is like the graphic novel king of the world here, and I think some of his other stuff is probably bigger, at least now. I would say.
Yeah, I would say Watchmen is still his biggest book.
V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta is up there. Honestly, I preferred his Saga of the Swamp Thing run.
That was pretty good too. Yeah, but I say he has so much work out, and so I think this just got kind of dated maybe, but
yeah, I really liked it. I think it's good. It's definitely an Alan Moore work where he's shoehorning his whack job philosophies into everything, and he's got people rambling about the fourth dimension, and he gets a little conspiracy theorist there. But it's very smart, very well educated. You can tell he did his research on this book, and it's compelling too. He makes a good case for Gull being the killer, but I think he omits facts. So if you read this, you're like, oh, it's definitely a government cover-up where a bunch of prostitutes tried to score 10 pounds from the Queen of England and she ordered their executions. That's absolutely what happened.
Hey, 10 pounds was big money back then.
I know. I did the math. And it was like the 4 pounds that they owed to their debtors. It's like $2,000.
Yeah, that seemed a bit ridiculous. And I didn't do enough research. Was that like actually like did they actually the prostitutes actually know each other in real life? Like were they like friends like it is portrayed in the book?
I didn't see that. It's possible I would assume that they're all working in the same industry in the same town. They're probably at least familiar with each other.
Well, so I did see a thing that the number of prostitutes in that area at that time is staggering. It's in the thousands, or like high hundreds, anyways. But it was like over. I'm pretty sure I read over 1,000 prostitutes, like within, like the Whitechapel area, during 1888.
Yeah, interestingly, I think From Hell started getting published around the 100-year anniversary of the Whitechapel killings.
Yeah, I think, well, that's probably done on purpose.
I don't know. It could have been on purpose.
So I have a question for you, Alex.
Yeah, the Whitechapel area is depicted as just absolutely disgusting place in this book. So I can imagine they're rife with criminal conduct.
So question for you, Alex.
Go ahead.
So Becky and I had an argument, and I assume you're going to say the same thing I am since we're covering this book. Who you think is the most recognizable serial killer of all time?
Ooh. Well, I mean, Jack the Ripper's got to be up there. Like, just the mystery surrounding it, because it's an unsolved crime. I mean, Ted Bundy's a big one. You got Jeffrey Dahmer, but I'd say Jack the Ripper's up there. I put him up there.
She was putting not Dahmer, the other one there.
Bundy?
Bundy. And I said, yeah, but everybody knows who Jack the Ripper is, whether they know what he actually did or not. Bundy, you had to kind of be a little bit familiar with serial killers. So Jack the Ripper is just urban legend at this point.
Yeah, they're like, even his official kill count isn't confirmed. Well, no, there's Bundy's, I think, but like Bundy's is anywhere from like 50 to 400, and Jack the Ripper's is anywhere from 5 to 11.
Yeah, but as I said, I'd say Jack the Ripper, just I said, more urban legend, where Bundy or Dahmer, they're still close enough. I'm not saying that people don't know about them or they're just general knowledge, but say like middle schoolers, they're learning about Jack the Ripper, not so much Bundy.
Yeah, because those happened within the past 50 years of this recording, and from the Whitechapel killings happened in the late 1800s. So there's a definite difference, and like is really the only serial killer from that era that gets talked about is Jack the Ripper, as far as I'm aware.
He's the one that kicked off the reason why Sherlock Holmes got kicked off, and a lot of the cozy mysteries from that. But they said it was and it was also at the very front edge of forensics. He's like in the book they even mention like fingerprinting and
He throws away the fingerprint like requests. Like, was they gonna dust the room?
Why would we dirty up the dirty room even more?
He just like throws away the request.
But I said that was like the forefront of that whole industry being born, and you're figuring out blood spatter and all that stuff, and fingerprints and footprints and all that fun stuff. So before that, it was gut feelings and beatings that got confessions.
He just beat a confession out of a guy, and it would stick.
Pretty much. But yeah, so this book starts off with a prologue, and it's two old farts walking along a beach. You don't really know who they are.
Yeah, it's like the mid 1930s.
I don't even think it was that late, but it might have been.
Oh, yeah, it's 1923. It says it right on the first panel. Doy.
So I didn't think it was that late, but yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, so you start reading it, and you can see there's a conspiracy afoot, and they're both upset about it, and you realize one of them is Aberline, the detective that took over this case. You don't really know who the guy he's with. It gives some hints, but you don't really.
Yeah, there's a Mr. Lees, and he claims to be a psychic throughout his early years, but in the prologue he confesses that he was faking it the whole time.
Yeah, I said, but you don't really understand his part in it because he doesn't come until a lot later in the story. But yeah, so they're just walking on the beach and bemoaning basically PTSD of the case and how they were forced to cover it up and all that stuff. And then we jump right into.
Yeah. Well, we also get a little bit of Aberline's character development because he sees a prostitute and her John doing it in the bay, and he like flips his lid, blows his stack over seeing that, and he just starts wildly insulting her.
Yeah, he has a female problem that we learn about later, and
and it's but yeah, then we jump back to 1888.
No, we jump back even further.
Oh yes, because there's a precursor to the killings.
Yeah, but we jump back to Gull's childhood. I'm pretty sure it's Gull.
No, it's not Gull. The guy fathering the love child? That's Prince Eddie.
Oh, okay. Okay, I apologize. So this is the timelines get confusing in the beginning here because we're different pages are jumping back and forth in time, and it can get confusing because there's no indication that you're jumping timelines. You're just jumping scenes, and you're like, what the hell did I just? Where are we now? So yes, you're right.
So we start with Prince Eddie. He's one of the people in line to the throne. I should have done more research on him because he's a real person too. This is like one of the first things that catches your attention in chapter 1 is there is a very graphic sex scene. There's a lot of erect penises in this book.
Yeah, so for all you ladies and men that enjoy that sort of thing, be prepared to enjoy.
If you like drawings of naked men and women, full body nudity, this is the book for you.
This is why Alex picked the book, really.
Yeah, not quite, but...
Yeah, so we jump into a sex scene, a secret marriage, a bastard child being born, and then Albert being discovered that he's done all this by Queen Victoria and everything being ripped away from him as he's hustled off and she's taken away. And
yeah, so the royalty marries a common shop girl and gets her pregnant, and so yeah, they take her kid away, they take her, put her in an asylum, give her a lobotomy, and he's just kind of forced to cover it up by pressure from the crown.
Yeah, so then we jump to chapter 2 where we get into William Gull as a young boy. Again, we're jumping way back in time because Alex said he's 71 by 1888, so we're jumping early 1800s here to get in a story, and we get his childhood and just kind of where he's coming from. It doesn't really explain why we jump into his childhood, but we get into how he joins into the medical field and how he joins the Freemasons and his quick rise to power to become the royal physician.
And there's cool imagery here in this chapter because most of it is filmed from Gull's perspective, so all you see are his hands the entire time, which I found out Eddie Campbell is not good at drawing hands. But yeah, it's like there's like cool symbolism where he's like cutting up
So Alan Moore was just being a dick then, huh? He's like, we're doing hands.
basically, this entire chapter is hands. But yeah, there's like he's cutting open bodies and he's got blood on his hands, like symbolic of what's to come. It's a cool little visual cue over who this guy is. And then also, he has a stroke at the end, right? Is this when he has the stroke?
I forget.
But yeah, he has a stroke and it really messes with his mind. Not totally noticeable at first, but it's there. So yeah, becomes a Freemason, which kind of puts him in with all the other Freemasons, and there's a lot of police officers that are Freemasons, and a lot of royalty and higher-ups in society that are Freemasons. So it kind of gives Gull a lot of leeway to be able to do the things he does throughout the book.
Yeah, basically it says he's a quick rise, a commoner getting a very quick rise to power and becoming one of the top Freemasons and most respected people in the nation sort of thing. And so he gets the eye from a royalty who's like, hey, you are our fixer of medical problems and apparently just randomly killing people. He's like, who would have thought that the physician is the person to go to? He's like, hey, we need these 5 women killed. Go kill them. So, yeah, end of chapter 2, we get... Yeah, he does get the stroke because I remember the Queen Victoria asked him if he's recovered from his malady and if he can pull the cover up for them.
Oh yeah, and then we start meeting the prostitutes next time, right?
Yeah, chapter 3 is meeting the whores.
Oh boy. But yeah, we meet 4 of the 5 victims who are friends together. We got Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Liz Stride, and Mary Kelly. And Mary Kelly was friends with the shopkeeper who got pregnant by Prince Eddie's penis. And I was going to say got pregnant with his son, or pregnant by his son. Anyway, she got pregnant by Prince Eddie, and they're all in a massive amount of debt. They owe £4.
£4, which, Alex, you said you did the math. How much is that in today's money?
I gotta find it again. God.
But yeah, so you say £4, that's like, what, like $8 American. So it's like, what's that? But you have to remember, basically you could buy a loaf of bread for a half penny back then.
Yeah. So £4 is about $900 American nowadays.
So yeah, it's a fair bit of money they need.
Yeah, when you're living in extreme poverty, $900 is a lot.
Yeah, and these prostitutes aren't exactly selling themselves for $20 or today was $20. They're like
it's a couple of shillings at best.
For the I don't even think it's that. I think it's nickels and dimes kind of thing that they're selling themselves for.
Yeah, like you said, there are over 1,000 prostitutes. The market's pretty saturated. They're gonna if they go pricey, they're not gonna get customers.
I mean, they go pricey. If they find a wealthy guy that's willing to do them, they go pricey then because they realize, hey, this guy's got money, we can fleece him, and they don't know the difference. But again, a lot of wealthy guys wandering the streets looking for a quick pick me up.
Yeah, and there's they're doing this so they can afford to be put up for the night in a room above a tavern at best. So they're living paycheck to paycheck essentially.
Yeah, and then they're also getting hooked on gin and beer and basically spending a lot of their money drinking because back then a lot of gin had just basically kind of become recently invented, and it was highly addictive for people that weren't prepared for that sort of thing. And it was a cheap drink, so a lot of people got hooked on the hard stuff and just kept going.
Yeah, so they decide, or Mary Kelly, she's friends with this, she knows about the kid, she's like, I know just what to do. And they bribe one of Eddie's caretakers / friends, not bribe, blackmail one of Eddie's caretakers / friends for £10, which is about $2,200. And that guy takes it to the Queen, and the Queen, who apparently didn't have $2,000 to give to a couple prostitutes, brings in William Gull and says, these bitches gotta go. And Gull goes on a tour of England for the reader's benefit. He talks a lot of psychobabble that makes no sense whatsoever. And
so basically we get the other character that's involved in the murders, which is the coach driver, who's also the guy that was Prince Eddie's official coach driver, or the one that he used most often when he was in disguise. So this guy knows the area, knows a lot of the prostitutes, knows a lot of the people, and he's a simpler mind, but intelligent enough that he can.
He's got street smarts.
Yeah,
because he's able to like the letter blackmailing the queen is anonymous, but he's able to track down who wrote it, kind of off screen, and bring that back to Gull. And Gull just spends the entire time insulting the guy's intelligence, but it's obviously can't get on.
At one point, Gull asks him, "Can you read?" And the driver's like, "No, I can't read." And Gull's like, "Well, how do you know what streets you are?" "Well, I can read those."
Yeah, he's street smart. Like
he can read the street signs, but he can't. He recognizes the symbols that are letters that represent each street, but he doesn't actually know what they're. He's not actually reading it like me or you would be reading.
Yeah, he has trouble comprehending, I guess.
Yeah.
But like he does like simpleton things, like Gull says, give one of these women a hat so they're easy to recognize, and he gives her a black hat
in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Still works.
Or he buys like a extremely expensive scarf. That's like, why would you spend that much money on a scarf to find the prostitute? Because it makes it too obvious. I just needed a bright color.
Yeah, I wish I had bookmarked it. There's a really funny insult. He's like, "You know what I like about you?" And he's like, "I can't think of it, sir." He's like, "Exactly."
Yeah, so we get into the murders pretty quickly here. That we're like 4 or 5 chapters in when the first murder happens, and so that crazy psychobabble as we tour around 1888 London takes for fucking ever.
Yeah, that chapter's a drag. Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, that was.
Like, we get it. It's a dirty place.
Well, it's not just that. It's like we get that you're completely off your rocker and come up with this completely bullshit religious system that you've come up with because of the Freemasons.
And I feel like Alan Moore like actually believes that stuff too, but he gave it to the crazy dude in the book.
Yeah,
because he gets so bogged down in like his own personal philosophies. Like he definitely wants to be more than a comic book writer. He wants to be like one of the great thinkers of his generation, and I would say it infects all of his writing. Like sometimes it's good and it works, but sometimes it really bogs down the plot.
Well, I think like the other ones we mentioned there, the V for Vendetta and
Watchmen,
those he nailed the philosophies and whatnot, and he didn't ever really drag on too badly. Where this one just goes and goes and goes, and like what you said with the swamp thing, he never really got overly deep in that stuff. He touched on it, but
yeah, I think he was working for DC then, so they were kind of like, no, this is an action story.
Yeah,
let's keep it that way.
But yeah, so we get into our first murder.
Yeah, he murders Marianne Nichols first. Gives her a hat, and then he invites her to the coach. He poisons her with grapes.
Yeah, he fills the grapes with, was it laudanum?
Yes, laudanum, yeah, something like that.
Which is, so grapes in England aren't natural necessarily, so they're very expensive, something that only the wealthier gents can have, so that's a big clue. And then, using laudanum is another clue, because that's, again, something that the commoners don't typically have, because it's expensive medicine, and these people can barely afford the gin they're drinking, which is the cheapest alcohol they can find.
Yeah, so she's easily swayed to get into the coach, and she's like, I got a wealthy customer, this is going to be great, but then she's promptly poisoned, dies, and they just drag her out into the street, find like a secluded area, just off the beaten path.
Slice her throat.
Yeah, cut her throat, cut her open, take out her organs.
That's one thing. He chokes them to death before he slices her throat, so they don't get blood everywhere. Because that's always one of the big things in the stories. Where's all the blood from the arteries being sliced open in the throat? Because that should spray blood everywhere. But if you're already dead, heart's not beating, you're not gushing blood.
Yeah, and he also, he knows where to stand and where to cut so that the blood will spray away from him, too. So, yeah, he gets blood on his hands, but it's not like a blood-covered dude running down the street.
And he's wearing a black cape and, black suit, so it's blending in. It's not showing up so much.
But yeah, he kills kills her pretty brutally. Also, quick note: the Wikipedia pages for all these women, they all get their Wikipedia pages, and most of them, their picture is their corpse. It's just like you click on Marianne Nichols and you get a mutilated body.
That's probably the only picture they have of her.
Probably, yeah.
So that's why they show that one. And Wikipedia doesn't usually shy away from that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and they got like the pictures of Mary Kelly's room like immediately after her discovery and things like that.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
but yeah. So so Gull goes home. He's had a religious experience where he feels good. The driver's feeling green and sick because as simple as he is, he also realizes, hey, this is messed up, but I can't say anything because royal family, and they will disappear me just as fast as Gull's disappearing this woman here. But we get to back to her three surviving friends.
Yeah, and they haven't quite pieced it together. I think there's like a little bit of wariness, like, oh, someone we were close to died, and
Yeah.
it's also like people turn up dead in Whitechapel all the time.
And also the fact that they owed their quote unquote protectors, the guys that are demanding the £4 from them, a pound apiece. They're already, the cops are on the lookout for them because their hit guy had already murdered one woman for not paying up, and he had done a pretty brutal murder himself. And it's very similar to this one, which is so they're all assuming it's the Nichols gang that's going after them for not paying their dollar.
Yeah, and the cops aren't taking it too serious yet. Like there's like some like the brutality of the killing. There's some concern.
They're covering it up because remember, Gull
Yeah.
marches right into the chief of police's
That's
office
true.
and says,
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
says
he does.
I'm gonna do this. Make sure none of your cops are around.
Yeah, because they're both Freemasons.
Yeah, and basically the cop's like, you can't do this, and the guy's like, I have royal orders. Unless if you want to be on the wrong side of the queen, do as I tell you. And he's implicated. So he's trying to find a patsy to cover the case, and they bring on one guy who promptly goes on vacation then quits, and so they bring on Aberline, who's spent his whole career in Whitechapel and had just got promoted out of there, and then they're sending him back, and he's going to his wife Emma.
He's not happy about it.
And he's like, what the hell? But he's said, hey, figure this out. You get an automatic promotion, whatever spot you want. We're going to give you a great pension. It's going to be awesome. Just figure this out fast. But of course, he's a decent cop for the times, which is, I mean, not exactly. I wouldn't say, compared to today's standards, you wouldn't want to cross him, but for the times, he's what you call a straight cop.
Yeah, he's not corrupt at all. He's very by the book. He doesn't get a lot of character development, but you get the impression that he's just a straight-laced dude. He's doing his job.
Yeah, he's trying to move up in the world, give himself and his wife a nice life, and say get out of the slums, essentially.
Yeah. And he starts his investigation. Meanwhile, the second victim is about to get killed.
Yeah, and that's another brutal one.
Yep, Annie Chapman this time gets. I think she just gets killed in an alley, right? They all get pretty much killed in alleys.
Yeah, well, so the first one, she had all the petticoats covering up, so it absorbed a lot of the blood. So the second one was kind of stepped up, where they're already looking for the, he's stealing organs, he's taking their kidneys because he likes their kidneys for some weird reason, and that's kind of giving them the clue that, hey, maybe this guy's a surgeon of some sort because kidneys are hard to find.
Yeah, they're like behind other stuff.
Yeah, it's just behind other stuff. They kind of got their own sleeve to kind of make them hard to grab. But so now they're seeing the pattern that, hey, we got something serious going on here, and that's when Aberline kind of starts really taking over the case. There's Detective Thick, a little on the nose for the name there, who says, "It's the Jews. I know which Jew it is," and he starts going to the paper, starting rumors about the butcher, and and we're getting the lawyers and the doctors giving testimony to whoever, and the cutting up the corpses to autopsy them and whatnot.
And meanwhile, the reporters are just doing absolute stellar journalism. They start writing letters in the voice of the killer. Like
Well,
all the
which they did find, I believe the first letter was a fake that was written by a journalist or a writer.
yeah, they I believe most of the letters are fake. Like the From Hell letter is usually considered to be written by Jack the Ripper, but really the rest have been attributed to other people.
So I thought the only one that they thought was real was the one where they got the half a kidney, whichever
Yeah,
one.
that's the From Hell letter.
From Hell one, yeah.
Which is where we get our title.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Dear Boss letters and things like that. So the press, like he's originally referred to as like Leather Apron. Is the
Yeah, because they think it's an actual butcher of like animals.
Yeah, one of the suspects is Butcher. But the press start calling him Jack the Ripper. So they name him. They throw the police on wild goose chases with trying to do sensationalized letters so that they can sell newspapers.
Yeah, and in the book, it's never revealed to the cops that the letters are fake because that wasn't something that was discovered until much later.
And they had to take them all seriously. So
but as I said, when I say much later, I'm saying 20th century. They finally figured out, hey, these are fake. These we figure out who wrote them.
It's great journalism back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
They really knew what to do.
I think Terry Pratchett has some smart comments on that. I know we're kind of speeding through this. It's a long book. It's over 500 pages long.
Yeah, it's
and you think, oh, graphic novel, those should be quick. It's all pictures. It is still dense. It's a very dense book.
It's very dense. It's I love the art style. It's so chaotic, and like he does a great job. But boy, is it sometimes hard to tell who's who in the book.
The one that you could tell is much later in the book. Like immediately, like Oscar Wilde. I'm like, before they even said his name, I was like, that's Oscar Wilde.
Yeah. Also, you meet Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man.
Yeah, Elephant Man.
It's just a tour of 1800s England, really. You meet all the celebrities.
Yeah, basically, it's like Elephant Man. That you could have taken that whole section out, and you never would even nothing would have changed.
Yeah, he didn't matter at all to the story. That was just name dropping.
Yeah. Just, hey, I need to add an extra 20 panels here. Let's put in the Elephant Man. People will recognize the Elephant Man.
Yeah, and like it's like really only exists maybe to show his like influence because like Joseph Merrick was a celebrity of his time and like a medical case that's lasted throughout history. So like that shows his level of doctor celebrity is that he got to meet Joseph Merrick, but that's really the only reason Joseph Merrick's in the story at all. And Oscar Wilde's there just to show that the person that they blame the killings on is gay somehow.
It was try to say, yeah, he's disrespect, not a, what's the word? He's not, someone we want in our society, basically.
Yeah, because Oscar Wilde, like he was famous in 1888 and not for much longer after that. But yeah, he was well known for his
dalliances.
That's a good way of putting it. Dalliances. So people who went to his parties. Yeah, they probably had a good time, but they probably also got
let's just say the picture of Dorian Gray
society.
Was not necessarily, the things that Dorian Gray was doing were probably pulled from his actual life.
Oh, no doubt.
So just we'll go with that.
Yeah, well, spoilers. When we get to a picture of Dorian Gray this season, we'll talk about that.
Okay, well, way to ruin it, Alex. Way to ruin it.
I know, right? I'm so bad.
Anyways, back to the story.
The police are getting led all around. Aberline meets Mary Kelly at a bar.
She calls herself Emma, though, and he says he's a leather worker. So they're hiding their identities, and of course Emma is also Aberline's wife's name. So he's like, "Ooh, this is kind of kinky," and you can tell he's got a thing for Mary Kelly, but
yeah, because he keeps coming to see her.
Yeah, and buying her a half pint of beer and just talking, and then she starts fleecing him, saying, "I need this money; it's really important." He's just shoveling over the cash.
Yeah, it sounds like he's trying to fleece her for information. Then he just falls for her hard.
He doesn't even know that she's involved at all.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get like word on the street, essentially, hanging out at a bar and chat with the locals, see what you can find. But he becomes infatuated with her. And I think she's kind of onto it that he's not a leather worker because she comments that he has really soft hands for a leather worker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she shows she's a lot smarter than she is. We actually get to know Mary Kelly pretty well because she lives the longest.
Yeah, yeah. And she actually gets out of London for a little bit, which lengthens her life.
Yeah, she shacks up with her boyfriend, who's
Joe.
on and off again. Yeah, Joe,
Mm-hmm.
and we see Joe's penis a lot, which is a weird thing to say. Uh,
You're welcome.
yeah. It's the worst Joe since Clockwork Orange, I tell you that much. Um, but yeah, so there's like a lot of turmoil there because like the killings of her friends is getting to her, and she realizes there's a hit on her, so she's like drunk the entire second half of the book, and she's bringing home other women to help keep her safe and like just stay in sight of someone at all times. And she also she fleeces Aberline for money, and she thinks it's the people she owes money to that are killing them off, so she tries to pay them off. And she's like, I got £2 for you, and there's only two of us left, so will that work? And they're like, dude, we weren't doing it. And she's like, oh, I'm fucked.
And then that's when it kind of clicks that, oh shit, I think this has to do something with the kid, because that's like, why else would we be targeted? But in the meantime, two more women get brutally murdered in one night.
Yeah, we got Elizabeth Stride gets killed. They paint something misleading on the walls that time to throw the cops off. That has something to do with Jews. And then they believe they found Mary Kelly in a drunk tank, who just got released from the prison.
Yeah, she takes Mary Kelly's name to hide her own identity.
Yeah. And then as she's leaving the precinct and walking down the street, they just full on jump out of the cab, kill her, drag her into an alley, and peace out again. And they think their job is done. They think they got all four women.
So one of them was that they had the first one that they killed that night. They got interrupted before he could take his organs, so he's feeling dejected and is like, this got ruined.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does pause to steal her kidney because the fourth woman's kidney is very important.
Yeah, so he gets the fourth one. He's like, okay, this is, and every time he kills a woman, he gets a kind of a religious-esque experience.
Yeah, he gets a little bit closer to God every single time.
Yeah,
and like you like see him like standing with his arms out, and there's like a giant cross in front of him, or he's like in front of a giant mountain. It's really cool.
Yeah, so he kills the fourth woman, the second one that night.
Catherine Eddowes winds up being her name.
Yeah, and when the killing's done and the mutilation is done, Gull is like, I was so close. It's too bad this is over. And meanwhile, he's trying to he's killing all these women at different Freemason sites that of importance to him. So it's like the Cleopatra's Needle, and I forget what one of the churches from his favorite architect.
Yeah, it gets a little convoluted. Like if you go back to the insane ramblings from the tour of London that we find all the murder spots. But it's
he's pointing them all on, and basically it makes that kind of weird pentagram that everyone always points out to.
Yeah, and it's like it's a lot of really dark pencil line drawings to set scenes. Just it's more, I guess, atmosphere than detail, so sometimes it's kind of hard to tell where they are.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like where the alley they're killed is just adjacent or close to that area, so it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, she was killed on the front porch of the church kind of thing. It was she's an alley or two over, and it's just as close as you could get them to without having people see him.
Yeah, and then it gets into once they realize that they didn't kill Mary Kelly.
Well, so then we get kind of a break because it's like, we got the murders. They think the murders are done. Thick has his Jewish butcher theory, and they are going after this guy who has an alibi, who's been hiding out in his friend's apartment for weeks, and they finally arrest him, arraign him, take him to trial, and he's innocent. And Thick gets in a bunch of trouble and looks like a fool because he won't let it go. But it's pretty early on we would learn that his job is to close cases whether the guy is guilty or not. And Aberline is just going at him hard the whole time, saying, hey, stop being an idiot, do real police work. Which, again, as we said earlier, you got the request to fingerprint a room, and he's like, "Why would we do that?" and throws that away because that's not real police work in 1888. Yeah, and we also have the sergeant that follows around. That's just kind of his Aberline's keeper, and who does a lot of his heavy lifting.
And they're all pretty much just kind of stumped. They got really no leads to go on because it's been so well covered up.
Yeah, and they got all these letters going around, and so they got nothing. And I guess we wait for the next one, and they're getting a bunch of crap for that. People are starting a riot, and a bunch more philosophical, meaningless stuff to us, but
it means something to someone.
Yeah, mean a lot to Alan Moore, anyways.
Yeah, I remember reading it like the first time through, and I'm like really trying to pay attention to it. I'm just like, oh God, I'm not smart.
But it really is just ramblings, a lot of it, and like just random rabbit holes that don't go anywhere. But then we get Mary Kelly says, "I got to go back to London because I'm bored and I always want to go home."
Yeah, so she's been, her boyfriend comes back and they kind of like go out one night, and like she was supposed to meet Aberline for a good time, but she decides to flee with her boyfriend instead, and someone else in her room comes in at night and stays in there. And there's like a series of like minor events happen too that lead to a window getting broken and a key getting left on the door sill so that her friend can get into the door.
Yeah, because basically, so Mary Kelly wants to have a three-way with Joe, and Joe is apparently disgusted by two women doing it with each other, so he says, "I'm out of here. Screw this. This is wrong." And
yeah, and they get angry and they like throw something out the window at him. And
yeah, so Joe leaves, and then a couple more nights pass by, and Mary Kelly's going through women like crazy because they're all realizing something's not right with her because she's just drunk and doing all sorts of things. So they start basically they leave her alone one night, and she's being unbeknownst to her, she's being watched at that point.
Yep, and she thinks it's fine if they leave a key by the broken window behind a curtain so that the people who know it's there can just reach in, unlock the door, come in, hang out, and she doesn't have to be alone. But then Joe comes back, says, "Mary, we're going to go to London. Let's get out of here." And they're like, "Let's stop and get a drink first." And then it's unclear. Someone comes back to the room, goes inside, and then Gull follows her in. So it's alluded to that it might not be Mary Kelly. It could be one of the women staying with her. There's a little bit of mystery involved there. It's like, is it her? Is it not? But this is easily the most brutal killing of all the ones. Like it's the fifth and final.
Yeah, and it's got the full on. He has just gone completely off the rails with his religious experience, where he's having full on visions, and there's a fireplace where he's just getting the place scorching hot, melts a tea kettle, and
he's cutting her open. He like cuts her entire face off. He removes her breasts. He's in a room alone. There's no chance of being discovered, so he just takes his time. And there's like 10 pages in this book of just her getting cut to shit.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, pretty graphic, pretty disgusting. And I said the whole time he's just in his own element, talking to God.
Yeah, he makes this whole speech to himself or to God, or viewing himself as a god, that he's taken these women and from the streets, these unknowns, and he's made them immortal with his powers, and he's ushered in the 20th century, and he's seeing himself now as the god. Like he gets that sense of completion that he didn't get when he killed the first 4 women.
Yeah, so now he knows, his job is done. He can retire in peace. So Aberline was supposed to meet with Emma, aka Mary Kelly. Doesn't meet up, so he's pissed off. And when he gets called to the scene of the crime, he's like, "Oh, something's not adding up right here." And he realizes that might be Mary Kelly, and probably is Mary Kelly, and who he knows as Emma, and discovers the real name. And
yeah, but that's where he gets his disdain for prostitutes, is because she screwed him over.
Yeah, she owed him a lot of money, and he thought he was going to get sexual relationship out of it, more than just a quick bang in the alleyway sort of thing.
Yeah, he'd caught some feels for Mary.
So that kind of ends that, and
there's really nothing to go on until we hear from a psychic.
Yeah, a psychic comes in. The psychic had made an earlier appearance where he's saying, "I know who the killer is," and Aberline kind of kicks him out, says, "We don't deal with that sort of thing. Get the hell out of here." But the psychic has a problem with Gull because Gull had insulted him before, and
Yeah, so he comes up with this whole like I had a vision and it led me to this door, and he leads him right to Gull's house.
complete bullshit. The psychic Lee has no clue that he's actually leading him to the actual murderer's house. But
Yeah, it's just shit
Aberline
luck.
goes in. The Gull's wife is berating them, and Gull's daughter is berating him for dirtying their house by police showing up at their front door. And Gull comes down and is like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, he just flat out admits to it.
Yeah.
It's like his work here is done and it's all good.
Which then the wife is just broken at that point. Aberline's like, okay, I don't know what to do here. So they actually just leave.
Yeah, and he gets apprehended and stuff and taken in and put in an asylum, but we don't know the motive.
The whole thing is basically immediately covered up because the Queen is pissed off that this got so public. She just wanted them eliminated, and as you said, a dead prostitute doesn't elicit any really notice, where if you start brutalizing the bodies, then it's okay, there's something going on here. So she's angry, so she's like going to other Freemasons saying, take care of this guy's out of control. So the Freemasons end up putting him on trial through their own thing, and Gull goes off on them saying how much he's risen above them. So they said, yeah, we're going to put you in the insane asylum and disappear you, give you a new name, and fake your death because you're old, you've had a stroke, you look like you're about to have another one. And basically then the chief of police goes to Aberline and says, this is coming from the very top. Queen Victoria says, forget this or you will meet Gull's fate of the asylum, because they kind of tell him like, yeah, we're taking care of it as Freemasons. Back off. If it ever gets out, you will not only be discredited, you will be disappeared with your psychic, or you can just keep quiet, you get your pension, and you can retire now.
Yeah, he kind of pieces it together. He's at like the store that the woman originally worked at, and like the owner of the store is like, oh yeah, she left because she got pregnant.
Yeah, because a few months later there's another case where they're looking into a bunch of gay guys meeting up at a house across from the candy shop.
Yeah, and Aberline pieces it together like, oh, that was Prince Eddie that fathered a child, and then the cover up. Okay, I got it now. And he's disgusted by this cover up, like, oh, this whole thing just happened over this, and he immediately resigns from the police force.
And then on top of it, we had a side story of a guy named Druitt, who was a school teacher for a public school, which in England a public school is our private school, and he meets up with what's his face, Wild.
Yep.
And they decide, hey, he seems like a good patsy. We could pin the murders on him if we need to. So they have him killed.
Yep, the police kill him. They make it look like he jumped into the river.
Yeah, because they started accusing him of diddling other boys.
Yep, they put rocks in his shoes and throw him into the water, and he drowns.
Yeah, and basically they basically ruined his reputation by claiming he was diddling other boys. Kill him, and then they keep that as he's a possible suspect also if we ever need to put it out there. Even though Aberline was like, that makes no sense. He had no connection to anything. Oh, but he knew Oscar Wilde, and he was he might have been doing the children under his watch, and and even though it was all just made up. So yeah, anything else, Alex? Well, I guess we get to the epilogue where
we get Gull's death, where he like ascends above all of England, and he gets to see how the future unfolds, and like see his lasting legacy on the world.
He's disgusted with the future and the softness and the technology.
And then like last thing he does is he travels to like a remote cabin in Ireland, and there's a woman who looks like Mary Kelly who's got a kid, and she tells him to go back to hell. Like he thinks he's God. Like there's a whole thing. It's like this is a vision from God.
He also his spirit killed Netley. Yeah. The cab driver.
Yeah, and then but then Mary Kelly tells him to go back to hell. So there's a suggestion in the book that Mary Kelly actually survived and escaped, and it was a different woman who got killed in her room. But she tells him to go back to hell, and then he dies.
Yeah, and then we
cuts back to the asylum where his nurse is fucking a dude, banging the doctor in his room as he dies.
Yeah.
And that's his ending. Then we go back to
the epilogue where
the
it
epilogue.
goes from the prologue.
Yeah, where
now we know it's Mr. Lee and
Abelard and Lees are. Yep, they're talking, and it just kind of ends with an ominous statement. I think there's going to be another war. This is between World War I and World War II, and so like another weird prediction from Lees. Maybe suggesting he knows more than.
Well, I think it was he suggested it, but he doesn't actually realize that he knows more than he realizes. It's like he's just picking up hints from the papers and whatnot, but he doesn't actually have a psychic ability. He just
I think most people who claim to be psychics are just good at reading signs.
Yeah,
he's good at reading that stuff.
Yeah,
and like there's a depression on set, and there's a lot of worldwide turmoil. So he's like, there's probably gonna be another war.
Yeah. So your final thoughts, Alex?
I love this book. I know it sounds like I forgot a lot of it, but there's a lot going on in the story.
It says over 500 pages, so it's
over 500 pages. There's a lot of like little plots and subplots. Like Aberline's got a plot, Gull's got a plot, the prostitutes have a plot. There's a lot of different facets to keep track of. So it sounded like we were jumping all over the place. It's because this book jumps all over the place.
Yeah. So it does jump times without really saying how much time is jumping and which way you're jumping in.
Yeah. Well, there are like scenes where like calendars are getting ripped off to show the day, specific important days, and the Jack the Ripper ology.
Yeah.
But the book itself is really just fantastic. It's a great book. There's some flaws. We talked about the rambly philosophy gobbledygook that really slows down a few chapters here and there. But overall, like the scenes of brutality, the sex scenes that are really help more enhance like how I guess gross and uncomfortable this place was to live in, and just the storyline overall, like it's compelling. It's great. It's like it's ripped out of history. It's been adapted for the modern reader, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I would probably do 4.5 stars, but
that's what I gave it. 4.5 stars.
Yeah,
it's dense, but it's good. The artwork is fantastic. It's just it's very detailed, very memorable. It's definitely a unique art style for graphic novels. Again, like you said, it's dark and very hard to tell what things are sometimes because it's just all black and white line drawings, and characters can look similar and names are similar enough that you're just like, huh? But it's again so detailed at the same time.
Yeah, I would argue that it's probably Moore's like last great work to date. Because like Watchmen and V for Vendetta, like those came out in the 80s. The Swamp Thing was in the 80s. This came out throughout the 90s and early 2000s. I'd say, and I've read a few things that have come after From Hell, and really I think this is like the last like truly great work he's made. He's made some good stuff, but this is probably the most memorable thing he's made in a long time.
I wonder, like, you hear this about Stephen King a lot, where a lot of his early works were really tight, really good, and then now basically he's so big he can tell editors to go pound sand. So that's why he gets these epic tomes and these just rambling things that just add to the length of the story but not actually add to the story.
Yeah, like Stephen King's 70s output is probably like one of the best like decade of writing, like 70s to early 80s.
Yeah, but again, he had an editor that was tightening things up for him. But then he got so big that then he could just say, I can write whatever I want, so deal with it.
Also, he was a coke alcoholic for the rest of the 80s.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I see what you're saying.
Roger Moore, this is probably that transition of, I've put out, not Roger Moore, Alan Moore.
Roger Moore.
But he's put out so many blockbusters where you can now just tell people, whatever's attached to my name is going to sell, so I'm just going to put out what I want. And having that extra set of eyes is usually a good thing when it comes to writing, because it's such a lonely thing and you don't know if what you're writing is actually good or not until someone actually looks at it. And
yeah, I mean, if you really like his crackpot philosophies, I would read Jerusalem. It's like 1,200-page novel of just what the fuck am I reading? I read it and I couldn't tell you one thing it's about. But,
So my biggest problem was just the tangents in this book. They're just Gull's philosophies just go way off into nowhere for too long, and I did do I kind of glanced through there is a long section of an appendix that goes panel by panel and chapter by chapter. What was real information, what they had to make up, what is, where the sources are for what information they did. And like we said, there's that book from the 70s that the guy wrote that blamed Gull, and they admit that it was largely disproved. I did a quick Wikipedia search, and Druitt seems to be the favorite for modern day sleuths, thinking that he was the one. But it's again no way to know, and
yeah, that would make sense too, because like there were no more killings after Druitt died, so I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, and I've heard other things where it's just like, yeah, he did keep killing, but he moved on, or if the guy just ended up in jail or died from something else too. So I said, there's really no way to know, but again, it said this book definitely stretches the what is actually happening, what is real, what isn't. So yeah.
Now, if you skip this book and you watch the movie, you're probably very confused.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that. I got some questions for you first, Alex.
And I have a game, too. I don't know if we'll have time for it all.
Well, we'll get through the questions real quick.
Okay.
I think we've answered a few of these. What themes were best captured in this novel, like misogyny, power, class, fate, etc.?
Oh, power, definitely. Like the powerful preying on the powerless. Like they asked for 10 pounds, and as a result, 5 people got killed. And like, yeah, it wasn't legal, but like, it's like, I asked for money to keep a secret. Guess I'll die. But then like,
you don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah, the people that carry out the killings, they get away scot-free. They leave Gull to rot, but the masterminds behind it, they carry on like nothing happened. And they're able to like shut down a royal wedding because they don't approve of the bride, and they cover up everything. Like it's the themes of power and misogyny are overwhelming in this book.
What are your thoughts on Sir William Gull as a character / monster? Is he a victim of his beliefs or a product of his time?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think he's both victim of his beliefs. I think the stroke he has in the beginning of the book is an important part because that does suggest that his...
Well, that gives him the whole Jubilee triple god thing.
Yeah, it gives him that god complex. And so, yeah, he's a bit of a victim because he was definitely... His abilities were used, and then when he had no more use, he got thrown away and discarded with the rest of them. But also, he is a monster too. Like he killed them, and he seemed to have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. Did you feel any sympathy or empathy towards any of the victims? Do you think these types of books lionize the killers and dehumanizes the victims?
I think just the opposite. I mean, the killer is clearly monstrous, while the women, they're not particularly wholesome, but they're, they're just... Like I described them as just people trying to find a place to sleep at night and doing what they need to do to survive, and that's how they're depicted in this book.
Okay, so questions round over. As I promised, I was quick. So there you go.
All right, there we go.
So movie. So I watched the movie again like a couple nights ago. It said we used to watch the movie all the time because, well, Johnny Depp and a lot of naked women. So
yeah, Heather Graham,
yeah.
Yeah, no one's actually naked in that movie though, right?
Oh, they are.
Is there?
Yes, there is nudity.
I don't remember. I gotta rewatch that. Whenever I think of Heather Graham naked, I think of Boogie Nights. I think everyone does.
Yeah. No, there is a lot of nakedness.
Okay.
But yeah, so the movie is very different.
Yes.
It basically shares a name and overall premise of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And from there, it just goes off into fantasy land. Because you don't really know who William Gull is. They kind of bring him up. It's the guy that plays Bilbo Baggins.
Yep, Ian Holm.
And they keep it hidden through most of the movie. Aberline is a opium addict.
Yeah, who
has visions.
Yeah, there's when we get into my game, I'm gonna bring that up because they completely change Aberline's character.
Yeah, and Aberline's wife had died, so that's why he
And
has the anti-woman
yeah.
complex.
And he's a much closer friend to Mary Kelly.
Yeah, and Mary Kelly is immediately like all the other characters that live in Whitechapel are dirty, and Mary Kelly almost glows. Yeah, like when you're seeing her, she's clean. Her clothing is new. Everything's nice, and she just so it radiates almost like a light out of her because everyone else is so grubby. And it's like, okay, yeah, you are obviously trying to say something here, and you're being a little too obvious of saying how she is different.
Yeah, she's somehow pure in this world of filth around her.
Yeah, and her whole prostitute thing is even played down. Whereas, like the one of the other friends, and it's five friends, not four.
Yeah, the last like in the book, Catherine Eddowes is more of just a victim of her own wrong place, wrong time, and but yeah, this time there's just five friends.
And one of the other friends is wanting the lesbian relationships, and that's how she ends up getting killed because she pisses off her friends by trying to sleep with each of them, and they kind of kick her out onto the street. But yeah, it's definitely a different feel to it, different vibe. Alan Moore was pissed when it came out.
He sure was.
He did not like the product. I can see why. I mean, the movie is still good. It's like a standalone movie. It has its problems. No doubt about it. But
yeah, but really they took the title and it's like, oh, this is a good selling book. We're just gonna make our own movie.
Yeah,
that's something Alan Moore has gone off on. Is like you sell the rights to the book, but then they own that book and they can do what they want with that book. And a lot of times their interpretation that they have in Hollywood is going to be a lot different than what the book is trying to say.
Yeah, and there's no question at the very end, Mary Kelly does live. And she takes the child, Prince Albert's child, to live with her back in Ireland.
Yeah, and Aberline goes to an opium den and overdoses and dies.
Yeah, which is like, why? He literally could have. Mary Kelly was inviting him to come to Ireland. He's like, "No, just follow me, and they'll kill me there and kill her there." And it's like, I don't think they care. I really think it is over, and you're being paranoid, and it makes no sense why you're paranoid. Because nobody's like, it wasn't like where in the book it was intense. If you speak, we will kill you. In the movie, it was like, yeah, just keep your mouth shut. It'll go away eventually.
It's like they gave him cake or death.
Yeah.
That Eddie Izzard bit. It's like, what'll it be, cake or death? Oh, cake, please. So it's like,
But yeah. So you got a game, Alex?
Yes. So I found quotes from authors who did not like their movie adaptations.
Okay.
You're gonna tell me, is it Alan Moore, or is it someone else?
I have to guess who else it is, or just someone else.
Someone else.
Okay.
If you guess who it is and what story they're referencing, I'll give you a bonus point.
Okay.
All right.
What do I win?
You win the fact that you won.
Okay.
All right. This we'll start with one. I'll give you the hardest one first. I don't know why Hollywood is fascinated by my book when they never care to film it as I wrote it.
I say that's someone else.
It is someone else. Want to guess who?
I have no clue.
Okay, yeah, that's a tough one. That's Richard Matheson talking about I Am Legend.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Turn this one to the side. Hang on. All right. They name drop some characters. Whenever they mention a character or an actor, I'm just gonna say the character or the actor. The character was based on real life. He was an unassuming middle-aged man who was not a heavy drinker and who, as far as I know, remained faithful to his wife throughout his entire life. The actor saw fit to play this character as an absinthe-swilling, opium den-frequenting dandy with a haircut that, in the Metropolitan Police Force in 1888, would have gotten him beaten him up by the other police officers.
That's Alan Moore.
All right, and what book is it?
From Hell.
That is From Hell, yes. All right, that was an easy one. I kept my mouth shut at the time, but I didn't care for it much. When we first see the actor, he's in the office of Mr. Ullman, the manager of the hotel, and you know that he's crazy as a shithouse rat. All he does is get crazier. In the book, he's a guy who's struggling with his sanity and finally loses it. To me, that's a tragedy. In the movie, there's no tragedy because there's no real change.
It's gonna be someone else.
All right, there's someone else. Do you know who?
No clue.
Oh, there's some hints in that.
I get it, but one thing you'll learn about me, Alex, I'm terrible at naming things.
I see. All right. Well, that was Stephen King talking about The Shining,
Okay.
the legendary Stanley Kubrick film.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with this one. This one insults both the book and the movie. You ready?
Oh boy.
All right. So the book he wrote and also the movie that he didn't write. The book I am best known for, or only known for, is a novel I am prepared to repudiate. Written a quarter of a century ago, a jeu d'esprit knocked off for money in 3 weeks, it became known as the raw material for a film which seemed to glorify sex and violence. The film made it easy for readers of the book to misunderstand what it was about, and the misunderstanding will pursue me until I die.
It's someone else, and then we covered that book.
We did.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the Clockwork Orange.
It is Clockwork Orange. Do you remember the author?
I am blanking on
All right,
the author's
Anthony
name
Burgess.
Right now.
It's getting late.
Yeah.
Yeah, another Stanley Kubrick film. He's not
Yeah, Kubrick makes amazing films that the authors hate.
All right, and the final one. A Bush-era parable by people too timid to set a political satire in their own country.
I'm going to say that's Alan Moore.
That is Alan Moore.
That'll probably be Watchmen.
Ooh, so close.
No,
it was V for Vendetta.
I was like, it could be V, but it's like Watchmen's going for something else too. And I remember the book and the movie are pretty different also.
Yeah, I think by the time Watchmen came out, he'd given up on movie adaptations. He
Yeah.
didn't really comment on it.
Don't blame him.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of I was looking it up, like authors who hated their movie adaptations. Like he's like the big one, but there's a lot. Like Ken Casey, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, a lot. Most of them hate it. And from
The lady who wrote Mary Poppins.
Yeah. My understanding is a lot of times when they sell the book rights to make a movie, they're not in a position. They need the money too bad. They're not in a position to negotiate, and they don't want to lose it because there's so many, other books that would get made instead. So they're just like, Alan Moore probably had enough sway to say, hey, I want more control over the final product.
Yeah, and he rejected movie deals for the longest time.
Yeah, and so, but again, a lot of authors don't have that luxury to say, hey, I'm gonna say no until I get the right deal I want, or I'll negotiate with you. They're just like, yeah, give me the $1 million, and you get the rights for 10 years.
Yeah, well, a lot of places will try and give you like $500,000 and own it in perpetuity.
Well, so my understanding is what happens is you get 10 years to put something out, and if you don't, then it goes back to the author or goes out to bid to somebody else. So that's why we get so many remakes.
That's why, like Disney's remaking all their shit so they can keep owning Cinderella.
Yeah, exactly. So, or even the Marvel movies. Like I was just watching a thing this morning. Why Fantastic Four keeps getting horrible remakes is because Fox doesn't want to lose it back to Marvel because they bought it off of another company who had bought it off of Marvel, and Disney really wants it back, but they're like, hey, we can just keep pumping out bad movies, keep the rights, and
then we can rent out these characters to Marvel.
Exactly.
It's what they do with Spider-Man.
Yeah. That's why Sony refuses to give up Spider-Man, because that's a big enough IP that you'll be making billions for the next 100 years off of it. But so that's what happens. So again, a lot of authors get really bad deals, and I know he's not, a name that you can really talk about now, but Neil Gaiman is one of those guys. He got so big, and he's willing to work on screenplays and whatnot, that he's able to stay in control of most of his projects.
Yeah, because like he wrote screenplays for Sandman and Good Omens.
Exactly, and where most authors don't want to do that. They don't want to deal with the Hollywood BS.
But he was all for it. Like he's a lot less prolific on his fiction writing because he started writing for TV.
Yeah, but bad guy to have to be mentioning these days. But he's the example of what you would have to sacrifice. Or say George R.R. Martin, he kept a lot of control over his Game of Thrones TV series, even though he wasn't doing the writing. He was or J.K. Rowling too. Which she's not writing the screenplays, but it gets final say and a lot of input on what we're doing, who you're hiring for actors,
Yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, they made enough on the books alone where they don't have to worry about money as much, and they get to negotiate, come to the negotiating table with something.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so a lot of authors don't get that luxury, and there's like, even if it's $100,000 offer, they're like, yeah, I'll take it because they don't have the money. They
Yeah.
don't have,
They might not see $100,000 over the course of 5 years.
or their whole career.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as we've mentioned before, a lot of authors, their books don't get big until after they die. And then people are like, oh, this is a lost, a forgotten artist here. We need to remember them. It's like, yeah, well, it doesn't help them now, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else, Alex?
That's all I got. I mean,
From Hell.
I recommend Alan Moore just in general. He's a great writer. He's the guy who made comic books a thing for everyone, not just nerds in their parents' basements.
Yeah, he basically is the one that brought comic books out of the superhero, Superman, Batman format.
Yeah, it used to just be a kid's thing, and he turned it into something that's very adult and mature, like him and Art Spiegelman, like the two probably most important names in all of comics. So, From Hell. Great, delightful read. Heavy read, but worth it.
Yeah, dense, but definitely worth getting through. I guess I get next month, don't I, Alex?
You sure do.
And I got a something a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit more fun. It is called Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a Mostly True Memoir by Jenny Lawson, the bloggess. And it's in the title, a memoir. So it's a little different from what we normally do. I know we did the one Harry Potter one there. What's his face?
Oh, yeah, Tom Felton.
Yeah, Tom Felton. I think this will be a lot more enjoyable for the listeners to hear about. Yeah, this is kind of like an example of what a better memoir can be. Jenny Lawson isn't exactly famous. I mean, she's famous now for her books and her blog, but she had a following from her blog, but it wasn't like household name.
Yeah, she's very she kind of built it from the roots up.
Yeah.
So she's got like a blogging empire now.
So yeah, we'll get into that, and hope you guys enjoy reading along with us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that one.
Yeah. Alex has already read it. He has thoughts, but we won't get into it now.
Yeah, tune in next month.
So yeah, that's Kendall Bookworms. If you want to follow us, we are on Instagram at Kendall Bookworms. You can DM us there, or you can email us through Gmail at kendallbookworms@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group on Kendall Bookworms. We are on YouTube, audio only. Yes, I know we put out two videos of the exact same thing within a couple hours of each other. I don't know how to turn that off. Don't ask.
Boomer alert.
Pretty much. We actually got a fair few listens, Alex, on one episode. I was like, maybe we need to I need to start figuring this out, but then we went back to like our 2 views per an episode.
Well, don't tell them that. 200,000 views.
Anyways, let's see what else we got. Alex has some books for sale.
I got Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok for kids. I got The Destroyer for adults. I'm gearing up to get the sequel to The Destroyer re-edited and re-released, so hopefully I stop dragging my feet on that.
That would be amazing. So yeah, we have the link for the Amazon posting on the description below, and definitely check out those books if you haven't already.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah, if you hop onto our Instagram, I have a link tree that shows you to all of our different sites we got. I am on Medium and Substack. Alex and I are on Goodreads. I am currently writing book reviews of all the books we don't cover on our podcast. So check some of those out. So it's all free. Just hop onto Medium or Substack or Goodreads, whatever your preferred source is, and follow me there, or follow Alex on his Goodreads. He doesn't do a lot there, but
yeah, I just quietly judge.
But yeah, anything else, Alex? We're hosted by Podbean. Not that really matters much, other than costing me a lot of money every year.
Yeah. See, it's getting to the end of the night for Joe. He's just like, this fucking Podbean, man.
This is my bedtime.
So we're hosted by Podbean and the show.
So yeah, that's it, Alex.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. That was From Hell by Alan Moore. Tune in next time for Let's Pretend This Never Happened.
And don't forget our bonus episodes. We will have some. I know we said that they might have some gaps. We haven't hit that. We haven't hit that threshold yet.
We're working hard and hardly working.
Oh, Alex is hardly working.
Yeah,
at his 3 jobs.
Yeah. But yeah, so keep tuning in. Until next time, I'm Alex.
And I'm Joe.
This has been Bookworms.
Out.